It's the start of hour number 2. Welcome back, everybody, to Sports Talk. Steve Kaplowitz with you as we continue on this Friday afternoon from the El Paso Spring Home Show. Well, as all of you know, next Thursday will be a special night for so many people here in El Paso. It's when we get a chance to honor one of the all-time greats who donned the UTEP jersey. Hernell Jeep Jackson, number 22, will be celebrating his life next Thursday, and we will be broadcasting from Spirit of 66, the new sports bar that's opened up right across the street from the Don Haskins Center, with a special 3 o'clock airtime, 3 to 6, as we will dedicate that show to the tribute of Jeep Jackson. So we look forward to seeing all of you with us at Spirit of 66 across from the Don Haskins Center on North Mesa. Right now, we'd like to jump out to our Village Inn hotline as we continue, and joining us on the phones, a man who really needs no introduction. Simply put, one of the greatest players ever to wear a UTEP Miner jersey, and following his college career, he had an unbelievable NBA career and now is an assistant coach for the Detroit Pistons. Very happy to have number 10, Tim Hardaway, with us on the show right now. And Tim, first off, great to have you back here with us in El Paso on Sports Talk.
Hey, well, first of all, Steve, I want to say thank you for having me on. Secondly, I want to say hello, El Pasoans. Always happy to talk to, you all, Steve, and happy to talk to the fans in El Paso and my friends in El Paso, and I miss you all. And, hey, keep the faith and, understand Tim Floyd is going through, something that all coaches go through, all universities go to. But, hey, keep the faith, keep the positive attitudes, and it's going to come back.
As we get ready to think back to the glory years, really, the 1980s, when you and Jeep played alongside each other for a couple of years, tell me what you remember back to about 1985, your freshman season, which happened to be Jeep's junior year, and the Miners were on top of the WAC and going to the NCAA tournament those years.
I didn't even know it was that long ago before I became a freshman, only thing I can say is that Jeep taught me a lot of things. I came in with a big head, coming from the city of Chicago, thinking that I was going to come in and play right away, and just take over his position. And but he showed me right away that it was his position. He showed me right away that it doesn't work like that down here. You got to work hard to achieve your goals and to achieve starting on UTEP Miners team with a Don Haskins type of coach. And, he just showed me right away hard work and hard, working on your game pays off. And that's, every time he come out and play, every time he came out to practice, it was just his attitude was fierce. His attitude was, look, I'm going to go out here and give him my all each and every day and just get better each and every day. And that's what he did.
I used to hear stories about practices in the 80s, and people would tell me there were always fights in practice, that it got so intense with you guys that scrapping was just a part of the job.
Well, I tell you this, it wasn't fights, like per se, like, you throwing punches or anything like that. It was like getting up in somebody's face, pushing them, and you pushing somebody back, loud talking them, stuff like that. But it wasn't like, you throwing a punch and you hitting somebody in the face. That was more so, you might hit somebody with an elbow or accidentally, or you meant to do it. But other than that, it wasn't like, fist to cuff, like a real brawl. But, that was the way it was. You get mad, you push somebody and say, you fouled me hard, I'm your teammate, or you throw an elbow. Hey, man, watch your elbow. That's the way it was, back in the day, in the 80s. That's how we played as we was growing up. So we was used to that. But, yeah, that's the way it was. And if you could play that way against your teammates, just think what you did against opponents. And people you really didn't like. You really got even tougher, even nastier against opponents. So, it was practice was tough though. Don't get me wrong, practice was tough.
I always heard from a lot of people as we continue our conversation right now with former minor great Tim Hardaway, who's an assistant right now with the Detroit Pistons. Back to Jeep for a second, Tim. I always heard about him that he was one of those guys that I don't want to say he could get away with more than other players, but he had a little bit of a different relationship with Coach Haskins. Did you see that early on when you came into the program?
Yeah. But you know what? You as a basketball player, the person that works hard, the person that shows that, he's willing to run through a brick wall for your team and for your coach. He's willing to do anything, and he's out there doing anything on the basketball court. You give him leeway. That was the way it was. Coaches gave those guys leeway. The coaches gave, they had special privileges, and that's everybody knew that. That's the way it was. And it wasn't nothing, that you was mad about because you wanted to be like that person. You wanted to be like that, like Chief Jackson, to get special privilege, to have Coach hug you, and say, hey, this is my guy here. You wanted that, and the way you get that is to go out there and work hard on your game, work hard in practice, show Coach that you are able to, you are a winner, and you do anything that you can do to win for your team. And that's what Jeep did each and every day, each and every night when he took the floor, and he played that way. He gave I say a 1,000% every time he touched the floor. And that's what, when you do that, coaches tend to give you, leeway and tend to treat you special than other players.
You went up against him in practice for 2 years. For a lot of minor fans that are watching this team now with Tim Floyd but weren't around here 30 years ago, they've heard the name. They've probably seen some of the game films from those 80s NCAA tournament games. But if you had to describe his ability as a point guard, as a player, how would you best remember what Jeep's basketball game was about as a guard?
Fearless. Positive, courageous, great attitude, gave his team a chance to win each and every night. But he went out there and just played hard each and every night. Even if he didn't have it that night, he didn't have it, just that energy. He found energy when we needed him to have that energy to put us on his back and to show us, hey, I could do other things than score the basketball. I could do other things than assist. I'm going to play that guy right there and play defense on him, and he's not going to get another bucket. And then I'm going to take it down court, and we're going to score buckets, and we're going to win this game. That's where his leadership came in, and that's where his putting people on his back and putting his team on his back and giving them a lift to make them understand this is where we got to play each and every night, and that's how we got to approach each and every game, just like this.
Did he end up taking you under his wing as a upperclassman when you got there? I never really asked you these questions because I didn't know if you hung out with him a lot off the court or if there were other guys that you were palling around with. But I'm curious if he ever tried to kind of help mentor you since you came in, as you said, kind of cocky from Chicago, thinking you would just take things over when you showed up.
Yeah. You know what? He didn't I was the type of person where you don't really have to take me up under your wing. I can see how you are and see what you're doing and see how you get to get to be on the good side of the coach. So I asked him stuff. He taught me stuff. He talked to me in practice. And, he told me what to do, what not to do, how to do this, how to do that. I wasn't never stubborn. I always took criticism, and I always understood how to take criticism. So anybody could come up and talk to me, and I understood them. So per se, take me up under his wing. He didn't take me up under his wing, but I knew when I needed to know something, I will ask him something, and if he needed me to know something, he would come and talk to me and let me know what I need to know. So it wasn't like he didn't take me under his wing, but it was like he still was teaching me a lot of things about college basketball.
Tim Hardaway with us as we continue on the show. You played in an NCAA tournament every year you were at UTEP, yet fans talk about that game in Tucson in '87 against the University of Arizona, in which you won on their court before that second-round game against Iowa. Does that Arizona game stick out as one of your favorites from your college days?
No question it does. First of all, we wasn't supposed to, or they wasn't supposed to host a game there, and I think that was the last year that they had hosted a game. A college team hosted an NCAA game in their hometown on their home court. That was the last time, because it was a lot of gripes and a lot of negativity about that. So when we went up in there, I think they took us a little bit too lightly. They went to the Final Four the year before that. They was a little bit cocky with Sean Elliott, Steve Kerr, Tom Tolbert, and all those guys. And, we went in there and we understood the ramifications. And we went in there and just played hard. And, like I said before, it was a tough atmosphere, but it wasn't no tougher than being at New Mexico State or being at New Mexico. Because those two games and those two places were the toughest that I ever played in college, where the crowd is right there and they're yelling at you and they're getting on you. But, being there and in the NCAA is a totally different aspect, and it was for something, and being in NCAA, going to the next round and keep playing. If you lose, that's it for you. So, it was great that Jeep was there, and like I said, he gave us the confidence, man, to come out and play hard. He was in the huddles talking about, we need to do this, we need to do that. Don't let this guy do this. We got to rebound the basketball. When you shoot the ball with confidence. There's no tomorrow. It's today, right now, and that's what he instilled in us, and that's what he gave us confidence to go out there, and that's what a leader's supposed to do.
As you know, and you mentioned this at the start of the interview, it's been a tough year for UTEP, and obviously for Miner fans. They want to get back to the NCAA tournament, want to start trying to experience that success that you had in the 80s. The game has changed a lot. The opportunity to get into the NCAA tournament has changed a lot. And yet, for Miner fans, I think the key right now, as you talked about, is just trying to weather the storm, hang in there, and hope that the program can get back to where it was that so many of us remember during those great years.
No question. I mean, Tim Floyd, I think he's a great coach, first of all. Second of all, if he was there when my son was coming out, I would have had my son come to or try to have him or try to put in 100% to have him come there to UTEP instead of Michigan. But Tim wasn't there until after he was at Michigan. So that's type of respect I have for Tim Floyd and his coaching ability and him being a man. But we got to weather the storm. You got to have faith. You got to be confident, and you got to be positive that he is going to change it. It takes time. It takes time. You're looking at all these other schools, North Carolina, Kansas, Kentucky, West Virginia, Xavier, there's a ton of schools out here trying to go after the same guys. And, we got to give Tim the benefit of the doubt. He's going to get people, guys to come play for the University of Texas El Paso, and he's going to get us back to where it was in the 80s and the 90s. And we have to understand that, and we have to give him time, and we have to give him a chance. Before
we wrap things up with Tim Hardaway, what's it been like for you as an assistant coach in the NBA, getting a chance to work under Stan Van Gundy with the Pistons?
Well, you know what? It's been fun. I'm happy that Stan gave me this opportunity. I told Stan, when I interviewed for the job, I'm a unique person. First of all, I know the game inside and out. I know players inside and out. And, I have a 25-year-old son that's the same age as these guys. And I understand how to talk to them. I understand how to relate to them. And because I relate to my son in the same way. They all think the same way. They all almost act the same way. So I know how to talk to these guys and make them understand what we need to do, how we need to do it, and to win games, to approach games. First of all, to approach games, to take care of your body, to be a professional, and to come out here and do what we ask you to do, and don't deviate from it. So and work on your game to get better. Each day is to get better. Each day is to make your teammates better. Each day is to make this organization better. And that's what I bring to the table with Stan, and that's what I'm doing now. And I'm having fun with it. These guys are great guys. You got to have fun with them. Sometimes you got to be serious with them. But these are a great group of guys, and we just trying to keep it consistent and trying to just make it back to the playoffs again.
Is your aspiration to become a head coach in the NBA, or would you like to eventually go back to college basketball and be a head coach in Division I?
Well, my aspiration, to put it frank, I want to be a general manager. I want to put a team together. I know players. I know how players who can play, who can't play, how to put them together to make it gel. So I know the game of basketball, so I want to put a team together and keep a team together and make it gel. So that's what my aspirations is, to become a general manager.
I love it. I wish you nothing but the best, and I hope that the next time we get a chance to talk to you here in El Paso is to congratulate you on enshrinement into the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Hey, I appreciate it. I hope so. I hope I say the fifth time is a charm. I got my hands and toes crossed. I know a lot of people in El Paso that communicate with me, that calls me or texts me. They saying they coming up there to the enshrinement, and I appreciate their prayers and keeping me up and keeping me positive. So, hopefully it'll happen this year, and we all be up there, and we all have a great time.
Tim, it's always great having you on the show. We appreciate that as well. And until the next time, take care and continued success for you.
Hey, thank you. And like I said before, go Miners. And, hey, people, keep the faith and let's stay positive.
Tim Hardaway on our Village Inn hotline as we continue here on Sports Talk. But right now, let's send it back to our Lubingo studios and Sal Montes, who has Sports Center for us right here on 600 to ESPN El Paso.